It's Wednesday, 20th of April, 2022. In tonight's double header, we are reviewing West Brom away when we lost 2-1, and also what we witnessed at Bloomfield Road on Easter Monday, which was a fantastic 6-shooting win for Poole against Birmingham City. And I'm John Aspinall. This is the Seaside's podcast. Match reaction show, Blackpool 6, Birmingham 1, and also West Brom 2, Blackpool 1. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Seaside's podcast on a Wednesday night. Blackpool 6-1 victors over Birmingham City. And the first comment we've had come in from John Haley is simply just WTF. Sorry, just what the F happened on Saturday. Tim, welcome back from your sojourn over in Turkey.
See, something sticks, doesn't it? All this education I bring to the show.
Going to give myself one there, I think. Get one in early. So Tim's, welcome back, Tim. Good to have you back from, as I said there, your trip to Turkey. How was it?
It was all right. It was yes, I visited various sites of antiquity, Temple of Apollo, and drank copious amounts of gin and tonic.
Were we correct in our painting a picture of you on holiday on our previous pod as you joined from the comment?
Yeah, I must admit it was spookily accurate.
But yeah, Nick, as John Haley said, what the F happened on Saturday? 6-1. I was racking my brain to the last time we scored 6 goals.
Well, I don't know what happened on Saturday because it was Monday, wasn't it? We played.
So yes.
But yeah, I don't blame him for getting the day wrong because I still don't know what day it is. It's like at Christmas when you just no idea. Yeah, wow, amazing, wasn't it? Just felt like the shackles were off, really, and you know we went for it. And as poor as Birmingham were, we were brilliant. And it shows that there are other things we can do with formations and players. And it is caveated that Birmingham are probably the worst side we've seen this season, but happy days. I think there's plenty to build on in that performance.
Joining us this evening is Sean. Sean, how was it with all those pissed up, angry Brummies in the middle? You're surrounded by them, aren't you?
Like it made it 10 times better. To be honest, I was literally in stitches for practically the entire game. To be honest, so yeah, it was good fun. Did
they have an inkling that you are a Blackpool fan? Do you have to keep?
Well, I mean, the tangerine jacket probably gave it away, to be honest. So I think that probably let my guard down a bit.
Okay, so on with the show then. So as I said on the intro, this is going to be a fusion of two shows. Very briefly, we're going to talk about West Brom away. I didn't go. Who went on air? Obviously, you did. Sean, Tim, were you there?
I was on a sunbed in Sea Day at the time, so yeah.
No, you went, did you, Nick?
I didn't know. We had a couple of nights away, so I missed it.
I couldn't be bothered. Good Friday. The main takeaway then, Sean, for me in that first half was CJ's early miss. If you can cast your mind back,
yeah,
the fact that he's rebounded from that quite poor performance against West Brom and done what he's done on, what day is it again? Monday.
I think that's CJ, isn't it? I think that's what you're going to get over a long-term sort of period, is that he's probably going to miss more than he's going to score in those situations, and that's just the player that he is. So you kind of have to take it as it comes, and we know that obviously in the summer we'll probably look to get that next level in, but yeah, the whole game was just those moments where it got to about the hour mark and you just knew that something was going to happen where we were going to let the game slip again just because of the amount of chances we were missing. I thought generally in the build-up we played very well and we were constantly getting into those areas and positions, and that's the frustration really, and that's where it's kind of like there's kind of only so much Neil Critchley can do planning-wise, and it's sort of down to the quality of the players, and unfortunately on that day, as we've had a few of those days recently in particular, it just didn't happen for us.
And the main man, Andy Carroll, popping up with a goal off his knee. Well, how did you feel about that when that went in? Although, Sean, he did kind of make his own goal as well, didn't he? He was involved in the build-up.
Yeah, to be fair, they were strange because obviously later on they were booing Callum Robinson off the pitch, weren't they? Because of sort of they thought he'd dived out of a tackle and he hadn't. I thought he was their best player and he did really well in sort of every chance they created through Carroll. You knew that it was going to come from wide areas, so that was a disappointment as well. The fact that it's the one area that you knew what was coming, and we really didn't do enough in that situation to stop it.
Nick, did you catch any of the game at all?
I've seen
some
bits
of
of
your
it.
Thoughts on it?
Yeah, like Sean said, there was some decent build-up play, and we got into some good positions, but then just seemed, I think Keshi in particular, just seemed, I don't know, a bit hesitant when he was in decent positions to shoot as well. I think we had a free kick as well, didn't we? Which was just a bit, I don't know, lackadaisical, and you're kind of thinking, oh.
I was thinking it somewhere.
Schoolboy error.
To be honest,
it's a new Tim is in Horn.
Is that Laurel and Hardy?
Yeah.
But yeah,
goes on for ages as well, so I had to flip it off.
It's a fine mess you've got me into, Timothy.
Yeah, it was a bit Laurel and Hardy against West Brom. But to be fair, though, from the bits I've seen, I thought we shaded it. But if you don't take your chances, there's always that chance that something will happen at the other end. And unfortunately, it did. John's frozen.
Yeah, in a really compromising position there, as always. It's never just a normal space, is it? Yeah, I thought, like you say, it was general build-up play was good. We've had these sort of games, haven't we, where we've done this quite a few times. So it came as no surprise, if I'm honest, that it sort of continued that way.
You're back with us, John. I don't know if you knew then. You froze in like a position like that.
You know, when you're in the airports and you're going through the security, when you have to go like that, that's what you look like. Actually, a bit.
When David Brent, when he reclines back in his chair and he goes, shoot.
Yeah.
But what was the score actually? Was it 2-1? I actually cannot remember much of that game.
Yeah,
it was.
Yes. Who scored for us?
Wasn't it? Marv.
Marvellous
Marv. Hooked it in.
Oh, Sean, I meant to pull you up on this actually. On the Twitter feed, you put he bundles it in, your exact words. And I thought that's a bit harsh.
Half volley. That's quite a decent finish.
Anyone goes back to Sean's feed, say he bundled it in.
From my position,
it looked
like a complete. You're in a weird position at West Brom. You're at the far side of the pitch, so you're not in like the centre area. So from my position, it was just a complete scramble of bodies, and then Marv just wheels away in celebration. So that's all I really saw of it. It wasn't until after when I saw it on the replay on the TV screen that I realised it was really good technique.
Well, I'll let you off then. But yeah, their winner, Tim, a sickener, and it's happened all too many times this season. But for me, when it went in, I was just like, like we were, Nick. When we went to Accrington Way and they scored 2 in the final 3 minutes.
You just like
I was kind of like, whatever. But I wasn't as bothered. And I compare and contrast that to my reaction at home to Middlesbrough when they scored in the 94th minute. I was on the floor of the stands with my head in my hands in the fetal position, crouched into a ball on the floor when he scored. So.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I was a bit similar. But it was interesting. I don't know if you've seen the video of the fans at the end when the players and Critch went over. You'd think it was Blackpool who'd won because, like Sean said, West Brom had been booing one of their better players, and weren't celebrating madly like you would do for a 93rd minute win or whatever it was. And it was Blackpool fans who were singing their hearts out. And I think it was just an appreciation of, we were the better side and didn't deserve to lose.
So we've dropped some points in the last couple of minutes of games, haven't we? We must be up there with the most conceded in the last 2 or 3 minutes of games. If you sort of cast your mind back over the season and the number of times it's actually happened, it's I think we'd be a fair few places further up the league, but for that.
I've only had some kind of statistician who was into that kind of thing. You're into that kind of thing, aren't you, Sean?
I'd rather just have tried to get those.
To coin a phrase.
Is there a stat for it? Like X Expected last-minute goals or something.
Expected pain.
XLG.
Yeah, we must be top of XLG.
Definitely, 100%.
But right, yeah. So we've lost 2-1, but the season's pretty much over since then. Sean, what was your sort of your summary of that game performance?
Yeah, I think Neil Critchley spoke really well after the game actually as well on it, and like he kind of said, he knows where the improvements need to be made. I think it's glaringly obvious that over the long term, consistent final third quality hasn't been there, and that as long as we keep kind of creating play in the same way that we did there over a longer term period with better quality in the final third, then we're fine. So, like I kind of said before, there's only so much he can do. And I think generally, like you say, that's just the next step that you have to take the next season. And obviously, we came up a year early and we've done really well to consolidate. So you're always going to have these areas of improvement, and that's obviously going to 100% be the focus in the summer.
Yeah, and as John Haley's just said there on the Price of Football tweet, I don't know if you've seen that. That's done the rounds today. Our squad is the least expensive, like in terms of player ratings and values.
It's a bit skewed, though, isn't it, from what people are saying? Because our budget is last year's budget.
Yeah.
And Fulham's is the Premier League budget, and Hull's is the last year they're in the Championship. So it's not... Because, of course, the accounting year for this year only ends on the... I think we moved it back from the 31st of May to the 30th of June. So the 30th of June, and those accounts won't be out until next year. So it is a bit skew-if, really. But equally, I don't think we've spent ridiculous amounts of money since we've come up anyway. And there's still really not many players who are on large wage packets, most certainly compared with everybody else in the division.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be massively different if you look at, Fulham have still spent a lot of money compared to the likes of ourselves and Luton. So I still think we'd be...
Look at Luton, pound for pound.
Wow. Yeah, I still think we'd be up there in terms of,
That's just incredible.
Least amount spent.
Is there a correlation here? Fulham and Bournemouth are two top spenders, first and second.
So there's also some rather underperformers at that top end of the curve as well. So, if you look at the likes of West Brom, who aren't that only a couple of points ahead of us, and Stoke and some of the other teams, Bristol. There's a lot of money being spent and a lot of money being wasted, isn't there?
And you can see
Birmingham being a notable one as well.
And you can see how they end up in such a mess with the finances. Kieran Maguire, who's put that tweet out, reviews a lot of the accounts, doesn't he? And it's just unsustainable for a lot of these clubs. So I'm quite glad that we do it the way we do it, because otherwise you're chasing a bit of a dream that may not happen. And if it doesn't, you can end up in an absolute mess with your finances. Loads of players on 15, 20 grand a week, which for a club of our size, it's just not sustainable, is it? Unless, Mr. Sadler wants to keep writing checks every month, and you can't expect him to.
Look at the money being spent by Stoke.
Mm.
This is the thing. It's like there's so many of these teams that they've had their attempt, like Mel Morris did with Derby, of trying to get to the promised land. They've literally burned the cash they were able to spend now. And looking ahead to next season, looking at that list, I don't really see many teams in there that are going to be spending much money next season, because they simply can't afford to, and they won't be able to because of financial fair play. So this is why teams like Luton and stuff probably become more common almost, because these teams just are going to be stuck and with these players that are on mass amounts of wages, and no one's going to want them because they're not performing at the level that they're actually being paid at, and they're just going to stay in those contracts, because why would they leave and get a massive pay cut elsewhere?
Did we do the double over Stoke? Obviously, we beat them away. I'm trying to think how we did. Did against
we lost at home, didn't we? Fletcher, we should have been sent off.
That's right. We took 4 points off Fulham, though, didn't we? Bournemouth, unlucky away. Should have beaten them at home. Stoke did well again. Sheffield United, points off them. Yeah, so
one thing West Brom at home, didn't we? Well, 1-0, didn't we?
Yeah,
it was 0-0. The West Brom. It was that one where there was about a million chances for both sides.
Yeah. Oh, right. No, I didn't we'd won that 1-0, but yeah, you're right.
But do you think? Obviously, we'll come on to Birmingham in a minute, but their fans were obviously the mirror opposite to us in terms of support. But do you think the fact that these clubs are spending so much money that the fans are, I don't know, is entitled the correct word? It raises the expectation levels to an unrealistic level, and I think that transpires onto the attitudes of some of the fans.
Well, they all think they should be beating teams like Blackpool, don't they? I mean, that's said on a regular basis. I think Birmingham's a slightly different scenario because they seem to have these rogue Chinese owners, don't they? Who, they've got half the stadium condemned. Obviously they're obviously spending a reasonable amount if the wage bill stroke. I don't know when that's combined wage bill and purchase costs. I assume so, but that they are in a very, very difficult situation, and the club would be in the relegation spots, but for points deductions for Derby and for Reading. So they are going to struggle next year, I think, as well, because I get the impression that there's no money coming from China at the moment. So, and they can't fill the ground. They only get 20,000 they can get.
It's reduced capacity, isn't it? Due to I think.
Why is that?
Some of it needs to be repaired. I think it's
supposed to have happened 2 years ago. It was right at the start of lockdown. They started it. It's supposed to have been done 18 months ago, and it's just not being completed. So
I didn't open it, but I actually went on one of the Birmingham boards just to see the sort of reaction at the end of the game, and there was a thread on there which suggested it was irreparable. The two stands, which would be obviously looking at fairly significant expenditure to sort it. But in the meantime, they're on probably 2/3 of what they would normally have at a home game. So that's going to have quite a long-term impact.
Do you remember when we used to have games called off if it was over 40 miles an hour winds?
Owen used to tell us about that, didn't he?
Yeah, I think the floodlights got shortened as well, didn't they? Because they couldn't withstand winds of over a certain amount.
You're going to topple over and impale you, like on the Omen when that spike fell off the church spire, went through a priest's head or something. Anyway, I'm going a bit off topic here.
Slightly.
Right, just before we move on to the Birmingham, let's have a look at this from Mitch. Have we got a special pod in mind for the Gaz contract use? I think I'll just answer that via the medium of video. Poetry in motion, that's Sean. Poetry in motion.
I was a bit surprised, to be honest. I thought he was just going to get the 12-month extension because obviously there was already an option in his deal. So it's good that players clearly see the long-term plan and want to dedicate the future. I mean, Gary Medine, probably the happiest he's been in his career, really, when you think consistently in terms of he's finally got a bit of a home now. He's been shipped around here and there quite often, and he seems happy where he is. So it's ideal. And I mean, Critchley was talking after the match about how he's really helped Jake Beasley, and he's a really big character in the dressing room, and these things matter, don't they? And I mean, at half time, he went over to Jake Beasley straight away and congratulated him on his first goal and things like that. And little things like that really are nice, and you can see that he means a lot to the squad and vice versa.
I noticed that with Beasley, how much he was kind of going over and supporting him. And like you say, I think it's, that is very important. And the thing is, he is only 31. I know he looks like after an hour he's 61 sometimes.
Nick, I was really surprised when I found out he was only 31.
Yeah,
I thought assumed he was like 33. 34.
Yeah, 33, 34. But, he's probably played far more than any of us expected him to. And we do miss him sometimes when he doesn't play. I know we didn't on Monday, but he's still got a big part to play. So I think it's good news.
So what's the terms of the deal?
It's one plus one.
1 + 1, yeah.
Yeah. So he was due to just get an extension 12 months. They were going to trigger the option in summer, but now he's got an additional year essentially.
But normally, those options are two ways, aren't they? If you play so many games, that then they can you can exercise it as well.
Yeah.
Yep, good news. But right, let's move on to the Birmingham game. Let's bring the team up, which was Maxwell, Connolly, Ekpiteta, Keogh, Husband, Dougal, Anderson, Hamilton, and the main sort of talking points were Kirk and Beasley in, as well as Lavery. So, Tim, great to see Jake Beasley coming back in. Actually, Sean, I'll just come to you first. Jake Beasley, because you saw him play in that friendly game, and a lot of people were saying Beasley should be in the next team, and you kind of begged to differ slightly after seeing his performance in that particular match. So, A, what was his performance like, and B, were you surprised to see him parachuted into the starting team against Birmingham?
I've wanted to see Beasley for ages. I think I'd given up putting him in predicted lineups because I always thought he was going to come in for Medina and then Medina keep going. But he wasn't great in that Liverpool game, but none of them really were. But it was about time, wasn't it? It was about time that he come in. It's a really good game for him to come into. So, and obviously, as we'll come on to, he looked the real deal.
Tim, the Charlie Kirk inclusion turned out to be a bit of a masterstroke, really, considering that.
Yeah, I think
it dead balls he's put in.
We were disappointed when I thought he'd done quite well at Blackburn, which I went to just before my trip, and I didn't see West Brom, but he was left out of that one, wasn't he? If I remember. The other thing that I noticed was I initially, when I looked at the team, I was very disappointed to see Connolly at right back again. I hadn't actually appreciated that Gable had got injured at West Brom because I hadn't watched the game back at that point. And then you start looking at how the formation is going to set up, and you realise Hamilton's going to be on the right again. And probably the most interesting positional selection was the decision to put Keshi nailed on centre midfield, not playing number 10, but actually playing in a full on midfield position. So I was quite interested to see how that panned out, and but particularly really interested to see how Beasley got
on. Tim, just before we go, you did the Heineken experience. How was it for you, darling?
It was actually extremely good. You're paying a little bit of extra money just to have a bar, but there's a bit of food on. And to be honest, it was a great atmosphere. A few of us went, had a few drinks, and obviously the result made it a very, very pleasurable experience. Stayed behind for an hour or so afterwards. I can see. I wish it was in the north. I saw Brett Geraghty afterwards, and he came in and I said, "Because do we one of these in the north?" But of course, there's just no room with all the lets, so which is extremely frustrating. But it's most certainly something I'll be looking at next year. I think I don't know how they're going to play it. Whether they're going to go for season tickets in there or keep it going as it is, where you can just upgrade. But it was a very, very enjoyable afternoon. But then again, I think it would have been enjoyable whichever seat you're in, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't have been as enjoyable if we'd have lost 6-1 either. It might have taken the shine off it. Nick, any comments on the lineup? Any thoughts?
I just echo what Tim said with the position Keshi was playing in. Happy to see Kirk in there. I thought he did well at Blackburn, and then I don't think he was even on the bench against West Brom from memory. And I did wonder, what's going on there, as he had his chance and he's not going to get another. But thankfully he did, and he did really well. And it was great to see Beasley given a chance as well.
And of course, Sean, I was banging the drum for CJ Hamilton's inclusion.
I was going to mention this
group. I was extremely pleased to see him starting, and I was.
I've got the quote here on my phone. He should be nowhere near that team.
That wasn't me, Nick. That was my brother. That you've got the wrong Aspinall.
There are two John Aspinalls on the on the podcast feed, I've noticed. So I don't know who else comes up as you, but it's not always you.
Yeah, that was my twin. That was my twin, long lost twin brother who was slating the inclusion of CJ Hamilton. Yeah, it was.
I don't know whether it's your sister comes up as John. I don't know. There's something happens, but there's definitely two John Aspinalls.
Tim, that sounds like a bit Burnley-esque. Your sister comes on as John. We have got.
I might need to rephrase.
Yeah, we have got East Lancashire blood in us, actually. My dad was from Todmorden. From there. Those neck of the woods. Anyway, right, on to the game then. So, no longer, we've just sat down, started watching the game, and CJ Hamilton's gone flying down the right and put one in for Jake Beasley. Tim, I guess you were in the prime spot to see this, considering you were in the south.
Yeah, it was rather fortuitous, really, that we actually obviously it ended up in 3 each end, didn't it? But I was quite pleased in the first half that we'd actually made the switch for this game, because normally you tend to see more goals in the second halves. But great. To be honest, it was basically CJ's best, wasn't it? I've forgotten who fed the ball to him now. Was it Dougal? Somebody played the ball out to him anyway, didn't they? And he basically...
That was second.
Yeah, Lavery.
It was Lavery. Lavery received it and turned, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he showed a great turn of pace, got past his man, and I was really quite interested as well to watch Beasley's movement, in that he did a couple of dummy runs, didn't he, before he actually went in and lost his man, got in front of him, and it was a killer cross just right into the danger area where all strikers want to see it. But he reminded a little bit of like Gary Lineker, the way that Beasley was approaching that ball, the way he was just moving around a bit and then diving in at the end. I was really, really impressed. It showed the sort of striker's instinct that you want to see. So it was a great start. It really was.
What I liked about it as well, if you watch it back, CJ, he looks up just before he crosses it, which he doesn't always do. He just had a quick glance and then played it across. And like you said, it was a brilliantly timed run from Beasley and a decent finish.
Yeah, I think all game long it was his movement that really stood out to me. I mean, their defence just couldn't handle him at all. And I think what was sort of an underrated fact of the game was that the space that opened up for Charlie Kirk and CJ Hamilton throughout the first half in particular came because Beasley was dragging players out of position, even when he wasn't coming to receive the ball. So for me, he
won a lot of headers as well, didn't he?
Yeah, that's the striker you want, isn't it? That's your champion. If you can't, we really can't get carried away on one game, obviously, especially against Birmingham. But that's what you want from your strikers. That's what I feel we've been missing sometimes. Is that player that will bring others into the game or take others out of the game on the opposition. I think sometimes perhaps we're a bit static sometimes up front, whereas Beasley offered a real sort of movement that made everyone else a lot more fluid in their movement as well in the final third.
And then within a matter of 5 minutes, was it after that? I think he almost finds himself in a not dissimilar position, doesn't he, CJ, in that he's on the right, he's running at his man, and perhaps they were expecting the cross this time, and he lets fly and hits the back of the net at the near post. It was an exceptional strike, and I think sort of caught the young keeper slightly unawares, I thought.
Go on, Sean.
Sorry, I was going to say Dougal's pass to CJ was immense, like the really well drilled ball, and it sort of almost swerved a bit. So the defender was about to kind of come out and try and intercept the pass, but because the ball swerved midway through, the defender didn't know whether to come or go, and it completely took him out of the game. So CJ had the run on him, and just all game long, it was just everything that had been going wrong in these recent games was going right going forward, and we were so clinical, so full of confidence, and this is what you want to see on a weekly basis. But it kind of also points to the fact that when Neil Critchley said we are nearly there, games like this kind of say that we maybe aren't as far away as we think we are to get into that next level.
Yeah,
I think
it
what
was
we
a
saw as well.
pass, wasn't it? Go on, Tim.
Yeah, sorry, Nick. Go on.
No, I was just going to say it was a superb pass, and I thought the same with the keeper. I wondered if he thought maybe he was going to cross it. It did just go right inside the post, didn't it? I think it maybe just caught him a little bit by surprise.
Where were we? Where are we?
We've just covered the first two goals, John.
Okay, we're on to the third. Has anyone mentioned Billy Eyre? 15 minutes?
We're just about to.
Billy Eyre on 15 minutes.
It was very emotional, wasn't it? I know I think his daughter and son were guests of the football club, and it was just fantastic to see all of the crowd up and singing his name, and I was singing it loud and proud. I think as well as we've done since with getting to the Premier League and with what's going on now with Neil Critchley and the owners, which is brilliant. I think he'll always be my favourite manager. And it was it was quite emotional actually, and I can't believe it's 20 years. Time flies, doesn't it? And it was a really, really fantastic tribute to a great man and manager.
Tim, I know what Nick's saying there about him. He's a favourite. He was a real man of the people, wasn't he? I think he's a man of integrity, a lot more so than Ian Holloway. Obviously, Holloway's achievements were off the scale, but Billy Ayre he's the kind of the man that you wanted in the trenches with you, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think so. And we'll all have slightly different memories, but one consistent one, because I think it always does stand out, doesn't it? Because he moved the dugouts into the east, didn't he? And so you always used to get him striding across the pitch, and you never, with doing his G-ups to the fans, and it was every game. A little bit, I suppose it's a little bit like Critchley does now post-match, but it was every game, and it was pre-match to get everybody going, whether it's pre-match or at half-time. And he was, I think most of us thought he was very poorly treated at the end when he left, and he did go on to have a reasonable stab at the Cardiff job, I recall. But yeah, it was. I don't think we've ever had a manager who wore his heart on his sleeve quite the way that Billy did.
Did anyone go to that game at Carlisle? Was it not Carlisle? Hartlepool. Were you there?
Yeah.
When he came over at the end.
Yeah.
And he explained everything what was going on.
Yeah, because there was a bit of dissent, not towards him. And he just came over and said, what the situation was. And I don't think any of the fans, thought any of it was down to him. We knew it was the owners, and I think it just reinforced, people's feeling towards him, that it felt like he was one of us. I remember him saying after the Torquay game, never had a worse moment in my life, never mind football, and you knew he meant it. He was, like I say, he was a great man. Loved him.
He was the first manager where we had the manager's name, Tangerine Army chant as well, and it was great just to hear that ringing around the terraces of Bloomfield Road again. So yeah. Sadly missed Billy, absolute legend. Okay, back on to the game then. So where are we up to? 2-0, 3-0?
Yeah, 2-0. I mean, I was going to mention as well about that. It was interesting. The Birmingham fans really turned on their own team, didn't they, at that point when they went 2-0 down, and you can. I think when you've got issues with the owners, there's issues with the owners, and then there's the issues with the players, isn't there? And I thought they turned on them very, very quickly. Which is, if you sort of compare and contrast Blackpool at West Brom, yes, we only lost 2-1 in the last minute, but 2-0 down, you're not dead and buried, are you? Most certainly after 15 minutes, there's plenty to go at. They had 3,500 there, and they just started basically having a go at the lads, don't they? You're not fit to wear the shirt, and we're so shit. I think they're even saying, how shit must you be? It's only 2-0 after 15 minutes. So I've never seen a set of fans turn that quickly.
I wonder if a bit of it was.
Sorry, go on.
Go on, Sean. I was just going to say, I wonder if a bit of it was they were 2-0 up at home to Coventry, weren't they? Yeah. On whenever it was, Friday, and ended up conceding 4. So there's probably a bit of that carrying over as well. But there's a lot wrong at the club, isn't there? Like we've said, with owners and stuff. So it's probably just a combination of things, plus probably being on the ale for 7 or 8 hours most of us.
I was going to say, they didn't really turn on Bowyer, though. They sort of went for the players and didn't really go for Bowyer. And for me, I said last season, my thoughts on Lee Bowyer when he was at Charlton, obviously when we beat him 3-0, but there's nothing to Lee Bowyer for me as a manager in terms of tactical setup and identity. He's very much sort of a passion, desire, old school, sort of get them G'd up initially, and then they quickly realise there's nothing to it. So I'm surprised that he's almost getting away with it a little bit, because I thought ultimately the players actually, I thought, created a lot of opportunities for Birmingham really in the game, and they kept going till the end as far as I could see. And I just thought that they were completely set up in the wrong way, and we just we knew it from the start what we were going to do, and we did it every time.
Well, he actually mentioned, if you've seen his post-match, which I'm sure you have, Sean, he changed the formation, didn't he, at 2-0 from 3 at the back to a back 4, and he was trying to make out post-match that the system doesn't affect anything effectively. And he was very much blaming players' attitudes, which sort of I know there's a lot of people have said afterwards that they were really, really bad, but I actually think we were quite good as well, and I think sometimes we're quite.
We were clinical. We were clinical, which is what we've been lacking all season, wasn't we? We have played similarly in a lot of games this season, created loads of chances,
or better at times, probably.
Yeah. It does annoy me a little bit sometimes because we're the only team who scored 6 on Monday, and if every team at the bottom of the league got pumped 6 every week, it'd be different. But so I think we sort of we almost make excuses a little bit by saying the opposition's crap, and it's sort of like a sort of slightly self-depreciating situation where we almost think, well, Blackpool can't be that good because otherwise the opposition wouldn't concede 6. But the reality is sometimes we are clinical and we do play good football, and I think, I don't think Birmingham were brilliant, but I actually thought our whole approach, our finishing, our attitude towards the game was excellent. And I think sometimes you've just got to say, what a bloody good performance. And that's yes, you can always look at the opposition, but some of the football we played in that game was as good as you're going to see any team play in this division.
Yep. Steve, backing up what we've just said, I don't think we got enough credit for our performance on Monday from others. We certainly didn't, Steve. I don't know if anyone saw Quest. I think we were last on. Again.
Yeah, we were, yeah.
What more can you do? Beat Birmingham City 6-1 and you're still last on, and it was kind of the focus was on them. Did you see Holloway when Colin Murray's trying to get something positive out of him, and he said, Ian, the last time Blackpool scored 6 goals, sort of trying to prompt him, and he said, "Yeah, it was when you were manager against Ipswich Town."
When I left, it was like,
and he said I left, didn't he?
Yeah, and he said, "Yeah, I left pretty soon after that." It was weird. I don't know, but it was. Did anyone else think that? It was just really negative about it.
It was very weird. It was very weird.
But he didn't leave straight.
Maybe he doesn't like the fact there's a Blackpool manager actually doing quite well.
It was odd.
It might be there might be a bit of that going on. He's an odd ball anyway, isn't he?
He is. I kind of dislike him the more I see him now. Which King Kenny finally scores, gets on the score street with his head of all things on 40 minutes. Tim, obviously the third goal in front of your Heineken experience. Were you throwing those bottles of Heineken in the air when that went in?
Yeah, well, if we'd been able to have them in our seats, a la Bundesliga, where Andy Porter is, isn't he, at the moment, then maybe we would. But unfortunately not. I'm remembering it rightly. It was a corner, and we'd taken it short, and it actually worked quite well.
Yeah.
We took a short corner. I think CJ was involved again. Get the ball back to Kirk. Kirk puts a great cross in, and Dougal attacks it with venom. I think is the adjective. Great to see. Great to somebody really attack the ball in the box and put it right in the far corner. So fantastic. It was like dream world at that point, wasn't it? To be 3-0 up at that point in the game.
Do you think he had it on the back of his mind that he's not scored all season, and that kind of pushed him forward to get that goal?
I think generally he's been back to his best last 2 games against West Brom, and then it's probably since Wembley probably the best run of form he's had in these past couple of games. So it's nice to have him back really to his best when we're coming towards the end of the summer. And there were a few question marks over him in recent times.
And it's nice to have someone whipping the ball in as well, isn't it? Instead of him having to take a floaty corner. Kirk's delivery is fantastic on set pieces. So that. But
do you think he's impacted by who he's playing with? I mean, he got stick for the performance at Preston,
Yeah.
But to be honest, playing with Robson, it's always going to bring. If you're playing as a pair, it's always going to bring you down a bit. If your wingman in there isn't performing either, and when he's played with, for me, when he's played with Connolly, when he's played with Stewart, when he's played as we saw on Monday with Keshi, he looks a lot far better player. I mean, John, it was while you'd just nipped out, but Sean was on about the pass for the second goal.
Oh yeah, it was a thing of beauty, wasn't it?
It was the type of thing that you see in World Cup competitions at international football, isn't it? When somebody who's really on top of the game is able just to ping a ball, precision. It almost like floated just above the surface of the pitch. Yeah. It was fantastic.
Just before the referee's blowing his whistle for the half time, it'd be a bit remiss not to talk about Keshi's tackle on Troy Deeney. If anyone remembers, he stopped a very good opportunity for Deeney to get into the box, and it was an extra facet to his game that I didn't think was there, and it was good to see. Sean, you're nodding your head.
Yeah, he was disciplined all game. I think that's the thing. Keshi is someone who quite likes to play with a bit of freedom, but he had a lot of duties to play in that game, and he did it really well. So we've seen Carey play in that position. Obviously, earlier in the season against Huddersfield away is probably the one where I'm thinking where he was really good in that position. And perhaps, again, as well, Keshi was brought on in centre mid, I think, at Swansea away, or he shifted there in the later stage of the game. And when we've got someone that kind of drives with the ball out of midfield, that's kind of where we play our best stuff, because we start to create overloads in the final third where we've not really got them. But then on a defensive front, you've still got to do those things, and his timing of his tackles, his movement and intelligence to know when to go and when not to in terms of intercepting the ball was really, really good. So really positive from him.
It was really weird seeing him so deep for me.
Yeah.
Seeing him actually on the edge of our box, and it was. But yeah, I thought he had a great game. Really.
Based on that performance, then, do we think this is his best position?
In terms of for the balance of the team, yeah. In terms of that, because like I say, you've got someone driving from midfield that you know is a good ball carrier, then it creates these overloads in the spaces, because a lot of the time we've struggled to feed the ball in between the lines between their midfield and their defence. We've struggled in that area of the pitch. We've always ended up just recycling it out wide and then hitting a hopeful ball into the box, whereas you've got someone that can sort of make movement happen with the rest of the players, and you start to play your way into the box, which is something we obviously want to do more often. He also said that during the international break, Keshi played centre mid in both the bounce games, so it's quite interesting that he's kind of started to be played in that position for a couple of times now.
We may continue. Nick, the second half kicks off, and we've started pretty strongly, haven't they? You could sort of accept us playing in ourselves a bit and playing in our shells and just going through the motions, but it wasn't the case, was it? We really started on the front foot, and it led to another goal in 56 minutes.
Yeah, and I wondered, whether they'd come out, and I'm guessing Lee Bowyer would have had some choice words with him. Well, I think he came out quite early from memory, so he's maybe said he's...
Yeah, anyone like to hazard a guess as why? What's happened there? He just came and sat on the bench on his own.
Probably said something about heart, passion, desire, and all these intangible things that make zero difference to the game on the pitch. So that's probably why. He probably realised he didn't have any tactical setup in his head, so he just sort of came and sat down. That's the thing. And they've got like big characters in that dressing room. Like, I don't know if you saw, I think it was after our third goal, Deeney basically brought him into a huddle, and Bowyer was kind of just stood on his own on the touchline as if Deeney was giving them instructions of his own. It just seemed a bit of a shambles, to be honest.
Lost the dressing room, I think, is that phrase, isn't it?
Well, he said at the end of the game, it's his worst ever day in football, he said, playing or non-playing at the end of the game. So, it clearly got to him. And, it's like Sean says, he's probably gone in there and started trying to do the hairdryer treatment, and he's probably got it back full barrels, hasn't he, off more than one of them. So
you do wonder.
It was interesting to see Troy Deeney at the end, wasn't it? He actually went over to the Birmingham City supporters, and I don't know what was he doing. What do you think he was doing, Sean? Were you near to him at all?
Yeah, it was just
what was going on.
whole. I hate that whole footballers apologising thing on social media and in person. I just think it's you need to just perform on the pitch, and you wouldn't have to do that in the first place. So it's sort of I think he was just kind of saying sorry and just trying to calm them down a bit. I know James Husband kind of followed. There was another player that went, and James Husband followed him almost in case the fans just started digging at him, and they had to collar him back. But he was all right in the end, I think. But it's just. I don't know. I'm not keen on Deeney, to be honest, as a character, and I just think it's pointless. I just think you don't achieve anything by doing these things. You just have to do your talking on the pitch, and they didn't.
He's got the biggest thighs in football as well, as you said. They're absolutely huge, aren't they? It's like a rugby player, like a rugby prop. Unbelievable.
Is that what you spend your days watching players' thighs? Tim, football?
It was just it was extremely. It was almost like it was unfootballer like, if that makes sense. It just he's getting a bit of stick for being overweight. I don't know, but his top half didn't look particularly overweight, but his legs looked literally like like these big, like a Billy Beaumont style, legs he had, which you don't associate, do you, with somebody playing in a forward position in a football team.
Well, there's Akin Fenwer as well. He's a big old unit, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's retired recently, isn't he?
But back to the goal. So it was corner from Kirk, wasn't it, again? And I think it kind of just sort of seemed to hit Kenny Dougal a bit, came off him, fell to Connolly, turned and shot. And to be fair, it was a decent save by the keeper, and Beasley was right place at the right time to tap it home for his second.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Nick, with the right place at the right time. He anticipated where the ball was going to go, and he was on the move before the keeper had even made the save. And Tim, it's a bit like, I think someone put in the comments before, it's a bit like Gary Lineker. He was like that. He wasn't the.
It was Tim who said it.
It was somebody said it. I think it was Steve Hutchinson or somebody else said it in the comments as well. But I thought with the first goal, that he showed, because he did a double, he did a run and then pulled back and then went again, which is what you used to see Lineker do. And I listened to his post match, and he said that's what he'd said. He could see that Connolly was looking to turn and may get a shot off, and he said, I just took a chance and got in where I thought it may end up if the keeper saved it. And that's what you want, don't you? That's what you want, somebody with that instinct. Not to stand and watch what happens, but to think what might happen and take a chance and create space for themselves.
Nick, as Mick Birdall used to say, Division 4A of the Blackpool and Sunday Alliance, the quality team and level that we played, Division 4A. I'm gambling.
He did indeed, yeah. But Tim's right. It's a great attribute to have, just to anticipate that that's what's going to happen, because you'll score goals from doing it. And it was great to see.
So 4-0 up, cruising. Birmingham have pulled one back. Ivan Sunjic pulled one back for the visitors. Was anyone worried this was going to be the turning of the tide for Birmingham, or just a? I
think it being 3, you start to think they get another one, and then do we get a bit nervous? And actually, I had one of those moments where you think, I actually thought, was it 3? Is it 3? Is it 4? And I had to look up. I had to look up at the scoreboard, and then I remember thinking, thank F for that it's 4, not 3.
I always remember being 3-0 up at home to Gillingham with quarter of an hour to go. I think that was under
my moniker on AVFTT used to be Remember Gillingham. That game. It was actually 8 minutes to go. We were 3-0 up, and we not only did we draw, but we nearly lost.
I think they
did it to against Wrexham as well, didn't we? I think we were 3 up against them and ended up drawing 3-3.
Yeah.
But now I'm the same. I think once you realise it's 4, you're thinking it's just a consolation, isn't it? Thankfully.
Yeah.
And I thought I was half expecting Marv to get a leg in like he normally does 9 times out of 10. When he's chasing back, he always normally manages to.
Marv, to be fair, did get in the right. He did a good recovery run, and he got in the right position. It was anyway. It was laid off, wasn't it? And
yeah,
I don't think the others picked up the loose men.
No.
Critch has responded on...
Just talking about the defence for a minute. There's some bloke behind me in the first half in the south. You don't get it as much in the north, I don't think. But slagged off Husband every time he touched the ball. And I'm thinking...
It was probably that guy that sits behind me, Tim, who you were ranting at last week. He's probably moved on to Husband, and he's probably in the Heineken experience as well.
Oh, jeez. To be honest, I was at the point at half time. I said, if he starts again in the second half, I'm just going to turn around and give him full barrels. And thankfully, he stopped. I think even he at 4-0 realised that it perhaps was a little bit out of kilter with what was going on the pitch. But it was literally, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Even when players aren't playing that well, to have a go at them on the pitch. But when you're actually winning 2 and 3-0, and his first thought is to slag off the left back, whatever touch he makes, and even when he makes a good touch, there's a sarcastic comment about, there's a that's the first one this season, and it was just.
I think people once they get it in their head that a player isn't any good, then it doesn't matter what they do. They don't see any of the good, and they only see the bad, or they see bad where there isn't bad, and they just focus solely on that. And
he looked like he'd last kicked ridiculous. A football in the junior school playground, so as well. So it's always those, isn't it, who could never kick a ball straight if they tried, and they just talk nonsense all through the game. But I thought Husband had a very, very decent performance there on Monday. I thought I'm not saying he's at the top of the game every week, but one thing I always get with him is effort, and I thought he got forward well on Monday and made a very, very positive contribution. As did Connolly as well from right back.
Yeah, you're pleased to hear that the Dougal berater who sits behind me was extremely quiet, Tim. Didn't hear a peep.
I wonder why.
Must have heard you. I think he must have heard you. So whoever this Jimmy Husband berater is, you have been warned. Don't cross Mr. Tim Fielding.
If I ever go back in W block, your card's marked.
Especially after he's had a Heineken experience.
Yeah, it was G&T experience in the Heineken bar.
There should be a G&T experience opened up in the West. The likes of you, Portillo.
Yeah, the Bombay
Portillo Lounge.
That's what we want. You've got to go
Simon
in there with
Brett,
trousers on.
Yeah, Simon or Brett, if you're listening, we want the Portillo Lounge, please. You have to wear a ridiculous combination of bright chinos and blazers to get in. Brogues, yeah.
A very colourful socks, a cravat.
That's the dress code.
And plenty of gel in your hair.
You need Owen complimenting your hair again, Tim.
Purple pants. Owen had purple pants. We don't go over there with purple. We'll stick to tangerine or red or whatever.
Yeah, another part of the dress code should be no fedoras.
Enough about Owen's pants. Let's get back to the game.
Yeah,
Beasley nearly got his hat trick, didn't he? Yes. I think it was a free kick from Kenny, whipped across, and he was at the back post. Another great header, and unfortunately just came off the other post, didn't it? And I think was the follow-up from
Keogh? Was it Keogh?
I think Keogh nearly scored straight from it as well, didn't he? So, and it'd been great. It'd have been great as much. It'd been great for Beasley to get his hat trick. It would have been fantastic for Keogh to score as well, wouldn't it?
It was funny when everyone was chanting for. We're going a bit of ahead of ourselves. It was great when everyone was chanting for Keogh to take that free kick.
He was chuckling, I think, wasn't he?
He was. Obviously, there was a goal before that, a penalty. Big Gaz was on for Jake Beasley, and he's made an instant impact 5 minutes in, Sean. Drawing the foul of being wrestled to the floor. I think he's made a bit of a meal of it, and we have had more blatant penalty shouts.
Quite a lot of holding going on there, wasn't there?
That was a penalty. Yeah, I think Critchley said that he thought that we should have had one last week against Forest, and we didn't get it when he said it. So he said it was nice that he finally got one, because you do see Medine manhandled quite a lot in the area, and a lot doesn't go our way. So yeah, and obviously it was nice for Jerry to take it, because obviously he's not scored this year. He's not scored since Boxing Day. So that was another moment, I think, sort of purposely put him on the penalty. Everyone was round him celebrating afterwards, and you could see it sort of meant quite a lot to him, because he's such a confidence player, Jerry, isn't he? Yeah, he's such a confidence player that that one moment, as much as a penalty, could well disperse him back into life again. So we'll soon see.
It's Boxing Day, I think, since he last scored, which was an absolute pearler as well, wasn't it?
Was it Huddersfield away?
Yeah, it was like the second, third minute, wasn't it? Yeah,
it's a great goal. That. Tim, I think you and I have batted this one back and forth that Jerry Yates, you're always confident when he takes pens. I was again supremely confident. Probably
the most. I think Charlie's up there in my memory of a player who I've got as much confidence in taking a penalty. I think did Jerry miss one in a penalty shootout or something stupid?
It was in the Tin Pot Cup against the Tin Pot Club.
He doesn't normally, does he? And just Charlie never seemed to miss them either. And I don't worry about when he's taking them. I'm confident that he's going to score. So it's a great testament to him that he's got such a good record of taking spot kicks, because it isn't as easy as it looks sometimes. And there's plenty of players who will miss not just one, not just two, but 3 or 4 on the trot. You've got to be a certain type of player and have a certain type of mentality to consistently take them and consistently score them.
I think, like when Sean says as well, it's a long time since he scored, but you wouldn't know it. He was totally confident, and you're not thinking for a minute he's going to miss. And it was great to see, and like you say, the way everybody crowded round him, you could see that it meant something. Dead air is a crime.
I was just looking. Wow, where's it gone? I've lost me Jerry. It's been that long since we've done it. I've lost my Jerry soundboard thing. Oh, reload it. I must have even deleted it. That goes to show you how long it is since he scored. Oh, sorry, Jerry. Must have deleted my soundboard thing. Yeah. So, Nick, to put the absolute cherry on the cake, we've got a free kick quite a distance out. The ground was obviously imploring for Keogh to take it, but I said to Eddie, I said, Connolly can hit these. He's quite good at free kick. And he was.
Yeah, it was. Well, was there not? Did Kenny not hit the bar before?
Google smashed the bar from 30 yards.
Yeah, I've done a Smith, unfortunately, and gone to the loo. So just coming back, and I heard it, but didn't see it. So I believe it was quite a way out, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a brilliant strike, that. And I mean, that I think me and Scrafton at the same time just said, "What is happening?" Because just everything is going right. Like, just what is happening here? And as soon as we stepped up for that free kick, I was like, "This is going in." Like, it just is, because everything has gone right today.
It's a bit strange, actually, that we got the free kick in the first place, because there'd been a foul, but the ball had been played out. I think it was to CJ, wasn't it, if I remember rightly? And the ref blew up after, and CJ basically had a run on goal, and the ref blew up and brought it back, which I was quite annoyed. I remember being quite annoyed about at the time. I think CJ was as well, thinking, why would you bring it back in that situation? But thank goodness he did.
First goal on the first free kick on the Critch, is that right?
Well, me and Jim were talking about afterwards, trying to remember if there'd been one. So it could well be right, because we don't really do much from free kicks normally, do we?
Well, Critch said that they were practicing free kicks in training the day before, like Kevin Stewart, Callum Connolly, that, and Critch went over and said he didn't know why they bother, because we haven't scored one in so long. So why are you even bothering? And then Callum Connolly, when he scored it, he said, Callum Connolly went over into him after the game and went, "There you go, Gaffer." And then just like...
So I think Kesh fancied it as well, didn't he? So there's a bit of not argy-bargy, but there was I think Connolly was quite pleasantly surprised that Kesh let him have it in the end. So
What a revelation he's been
Strike,
slagged off. Yeah.
I think someone's mentioned in the comments there, keeper should have done better. I did wonder when you see it again. He did have a bit of time to get to it, as much as it was right in the corner and a decent strike. But it was a fair way out, wasn't it?
He was poor, I think, but he's young keeper, weren't he?
He's a young lad, isn't he? I think they said he's only played 4 games or something. I think he's conceded 3 or more in.
Yeah, he struggled. We had a field day from games. Putting the ball under his head. He had no chance half the game.
No.
But yeah, 6-1, bloody brilliant. Eddie came out. He was buzzing after that. He was talking about that game for 2 days afterwards, and all. He just goes around singing Blackpool songs now all around the house. I was just at work the other day. I've been off. I could hear him singing the "We've Got Simon Sadler" song. I was just downstairs on his house. So he's well and truly hooked in, which is brilliant.
Tell him it's not always this good.
No. We've put in all those hard yards, haven't we?
We have.
Children don't have.
Yeah, he doesn't know how lucky he is. I think what we were like when I was his age watching us. Christ.
It's like working down the pit to secure a better future for your kids, isn't it? What we had to do. Sam Ellis, Jimmy Mullen, Nigel Worthington.
I was there the year we had to apply for re-election. That was the pit 1982-83 season. Jesus Christ!
I think I started going after that. That's when I started going.
Crowds went down to about 1,600.
I think I was there on our lowest ever attendance. I think it was an LDV Vans game or whatever it was called. It was a sub 1,000 attendance. Anyway, thankfully
you've got to have the lows to appreciate the highs, though.
That's very, very, very good, Nick. Yes, that's correct. Right, let's move on to the what we're doing. Player ratings, not manager rating. Player rating. So let's start with Chris Maxwell. Nick.
He didn't have loads to do, did he? Made a couple of good saves when he needed to. Didn't really have much chance with the goal. I'll go 8 overall.
Sean, hard to pronounce. Callum Connolly.
He's just class. I love Callum Connolly. You're always going to see him put in a shift in the shirt, regardless of the circumstance. But he's a good technical player. That's kind of underrated about him. I think he's got a good passing range. He's got a good positional sense. I didn't think he hardly put a foot wrong at right back when he was there at the start of the season. Really, he was a solid defender. He just wasn't giving us the width that Gabriel can, and he's just immense at the moment. And he can fill in any position. Doesn't shirk it at all. Doesn't shirk the responsibility. So 9 for me, and he's probably going to be quite an important figure heading into the next season.
Which is quite a turnaround, really, because he was on the periphery, wasn't he? Yeah. First half of the season. So, yeah, well done, Callum. Big Marv, Tim, just doing as Big Marv does.
Yeah, I thought he had a decent game. Obviously, it's probably not the most challenging game that he's going to have as a centre-half, bearing in mind the way the game played out. But he played his part. I said even the goal we conceded, I thought he did well to get back. 8+.
Tricky Dicky, Nick. Great to have great Uncle Richard back in the team.
Indeed, yeah. He's a great organiser. He just absolutely loves it, doesn't he? Never seen a player with such a smile on his face for 90 minutes. Nearly scored. Very, very good performance, and I'll match what Tim gave Marv and go 8+.
And isn't it great with these players that we were all very sceptical about at the beginning of the season? They're all mainstays in the team now, and long may it continue. Jimmy Husband, Sean.
Yeah, good performance. As Tim said before, he got wide quite often, and he's become more of a consistent thing now. He's becoming a more prominent wing back than perhaps we had him down for. And he also pissed off the guy in the stand, so we'll give him an extra point for that. So I'll give him a 9.
That goes with his excess rating, doesn't it? He's got high excess. Kenny Dougal, Tim.
One of his best performances this season. without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, he's scored a great goal. His range of passing seems to be back to where it was. He's taking pot shots from 30 yards. He's, involved in in some good set plays, I thought, on Monday. 9+, nearly a 10. Very nearly a 10.
He was right up there. He was right up there with man of match for me. Kesh Anderson, Nicholas.
Superb as well. I think he's another one in a good shout for man of the match. Absolutely brilliant in that position, all over the pitch. I'm going to go a 9+ as well.
CJ Hamilton rammed that performance down the throats of some presenters on this podcast, one being my long-lost twin brother.
Is it me? Yeah, for CJ.
It's Sean,
yeah. He was great, and he was clinical with his chance. Actually, in the warm-up, I was watching him sort of bury chance after chance, and in the warm-up, and I was kind of like, "Oh, okay, fair enough." And that's then translated into the game. But his movement was good. I think personally that we should just play players that aren't Josh Bowler for the rest of the season now in that position, because natural course tells us it probably won't be here next season. So I think it's useful to keep playing players like CJ and building their confidence up. So a 9 for CJ, and hopefully he can keep that up for the rest of the season.
I won't tell Eddie what you've just said, Sean. He will not be happy with you. Charlie Kirk, Tim, made a massive difference with the delivery into the box.
I'm really, really starting to like Charlie. I think, like you say, his contribution from set plays and just in an open play as well. He puts a good cross in. They're not. I think he underhit one, didn't he? Corner early on, which. But other than that, I think everything was positive, and I think he's made a mark. I think he's ahead of the likes of Dale now, and I expect to see him play plenty of football between now and the end of the season. I'm going to go 9. I think he had that much of a positive contribution.
Shane Lavery, Nick, with his travelling contingent of Northern Ireland young supporters. Did anyone else see that?
Yeah, there was quite a few over, wasn't there? I think who we met afterwards. He's not got on the score sheet, but you can't underestimate what he brings to the team. His work rate is absolutely phenomenal, and it's key to what we do. And we'd miss it if he wasn't in there. So I'm going to go an 8+.
I frantically make a Jake Beasley banner.
That's what I that.
There it is. It was always there. I'm just changing the spelling. Got it wrong. Jake Beasley on his debut. Sean, a dream debut almost.
Yeah, he was brilliant, and like we said before, his movement was what stood out for me, and his instinct as well. And I feel like at times we've missed a player like that, and if this is what you're going to get from him going forward, then we've got a hell of a player on our hands. I'm very, very tempted to say 10 in all honesty, but I'll go 9+ just to be fair.
Right, gentlemen, this is going to be a very tough one. I think it's probably the hardest man of the match pick of the season thus far. 6-1. You could almost pick one of every outfield player.
There's 5 up for it, I reckon. There's 5 up for it.
I'll tell you what, I'll do one, but I'm going to have a think about it. So you go first, Tim.
I'm going for Sir Kenneth of Dougal. Superb, Kenny. Back to your best.
Is it me?
Nick.
Yeah. I could put them all in a hat and pick one out and be happy with any of the 5 or 6 who are in contention. But I'm going to go with who got it on the day from the sponsors and go with Jake Beasley. I think to make your debut like that was fantastic. Not just the goals, his movement. He won loads in the air. I thought he was fantastic. So I'm going to go for Beasley.
I'll do mine next just for Sean. I'm going to give it to CJ. Primarily because he was abused by a member of my family before the game. And secondly, because he's just taken the game by the scruff of the neck, the ball by the horns, however you want to say it. And he's almost won the game for us in the first 15 minutes. And to come back from such a bad performance against West Brom, to put in a performance like that against Birmingham, I think shows good character, strength of character. And I didn't think that was something he had in his locker. And he brought other elements to his game, which I didn't think he had. Just straight line quick, just put across him. But there was a bit more to him and a bit more to his game there. So CJ for me, well done, CJ.
How does it taste, John? That humble pie.
Well, do you know, Nick? I had a meat and potato pie actually for my lunch with some humble sauce on. So yeah, it tastes very nice. In fact,
yes.
It's a toss-up between Kenny and Beasley for me. I think I'll probably edge with Beasley, but I think Kenny, it's very easy in a game like that to just naturally slow your pace down, but he was constantly grabbing the ball, one touch, banging it in out wide, banging it into the striker constantly. It was just constantly flowing, and that's what kept the pressure up, and that's what ultimately caused the chances initially to make it. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to go Kenny Dougal. Kenny Dougal for me, because he made everything in that game tick.
There you go, Dennis. It's not just me.
Surprise, surprise. Tim goes for Dougal. I did notice Kenny was actually for the star man on FOTMob ratings as well. That's my go-to Bible these days. So. Yeah, well played, Kenny, anyway. Has anyone seen the sofa talk he's done on Tangerine TV, by the way? It's really funny. No,
not yet.
I should watch
That's
it.
my post-pod viewing now.
Oh, yeah, it's really good. One of the questions they ask him is, so you're Australian? And he just goes, yep. And that's the answer.
What else can you say? No, I'm not. Where have you got that from?
They also asked him about Skippy, and he's like, what's that? And they play a little clip of Skippy the kangaroo, and he's like, what the F is this?
See, Sean will be thinking, what the hell are you on about as well?
Yeah. Certain vintage. That program.
Yes, for those of a certain vintage, Skippy the kangaroo. Yeah. Finally, just to see the show out, let's rate the manager, starting with you, Tim. I know we use that phrase a lot, a Critchley masterclass, but this was the epitome of it. I'm going to give yourself another Timism.
There you go. That's two you've given yourselves, isn't it, today? I'm going to have to pull my socks up.
Bring it home. Bring home the hat trick, Tim.
I thought I might have got something for self-depreciating, but you didn't pick up on it.
No, well, you actually, that is self-deprecation. So you've actually said that wrong. It's self-deprecation. You said self-depreciation.
You say both, can't you?
I'll
have to get the Oxford Dictionary out after this and check.
Nick, can you be the independent Timism?
I think you might be right, John.
Yeah.
God, that's three then.
That's the hat
trick. Get the hat trick. That's the hat trick. Jeez.
It's actually four because I've taken one off you, so it could be four.
Yeah, gosh. Anyway, back to Critchley. Yeah, I think I'm not going 10 because I think you've got to bear in mind that Birmingham weren't on top of the game, but I think he picked a good team. I think he picked an attack. It's good to see him take a chance on Beasley, and it is sort of quite good to see that, like Sean said, he is looking to the future, because I think it's fairly clear Bowler isn't going to be with us, and we haven't necessarily looked any poorer at the moment when we've shuffled the pack a bit. So I'll give him a 9. I thought it was a very, very, very good managerial selections and approach to the game.
Nicholas,
I'd echo what Tim says. I thought it was a great setup. Shows we can do things a bit differently. Shackles are off a bit, and it was great to see. So it's a 9 from me.
Come on, Sean, bring a 10 home. 6-1. You can't get a 10 when you're winning 6-1. When can you?
Come on. To be fair, post-match, he was saying we were poor for like 20 minutes of the game, and he thought we played better in other games and things like that. So And he himself always sort of strives for better, doesn't he? I'm going to give him a 10 because that was just everything you want from a football match. At the end of the season, it was starting to come to a bit of a whimper as well, and we were a bit like doom and gloom, and that's just completely picked it all back up again at the right moment. And it was just so fun. It just everything about that game was perfect. Everyone was together. Obviously the stuff for Billy Eyre as well, and Callum Connolly's just lashing in a free kick from free. What more do you want in a game? Like, what more could you possibly ask for? So a 10 for me.
Yeah, absolutely. You two can't give him a 10. And I think yeah, fun. You've hit the nail on the head there, Sean, with the word fun. It was. Eddie absolutely loved that game, and it could have just petered out to nothing, like said Sean, that season. But what a way to lift the spirits. Right, I think we've rambled on enough.
I know. Just before we end, I have to say I have checked in the dictionary, and you can say self-depreciating.
It's like what's it, Countdown or whatever on Channel 4.
It is. I went to the rule book.
Dictionary recorder.
the Oxford Dictionary. Self-depreciation.
Self-depreciation. Depreciation. The word means going down, though, Tim, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't.
Depreciate.
It means modesty about or criticism of oneself. So when you're self-depreciating, you actually say we weren't that good, they were crap. That was the point I was trying to make. Anyway, I'm getting no horn from you, so I'll have to up my game for next one.
Yeah, you were too busy getting the horn from Troy Deeney's thighs, weren't you, Tim?
And on that bombshell.
Yes, and on that note, I think we'll, Tim isn't reading the word correctly. Right, this is to be continued, everybody. This is to be continued. We're going to take this offline, and we're going to come up with a definitive answer. Was the great man right or wrong with that Timism? Right, anyway. Like and subscribe to the pod if you're watching on YouTube and all that bollocks. All that we said is thanks for watching, thanks for downloading, and up the pool. Up the pool.
Up the pool.